ቴሌቪዥን አስደናቂውን የክብር ፍጻሜያችንን የሚያበስር የቴሌቪዥን ፕሮግራም አሁን ጀመረ። የምሥራች! ኢየሱስ በቶሎ ይመጣል።
ጤና ይስጥልኝ። በመላው ዓለም ሆናችሁ የድንቅ ፍጻሜ ዝግጅቶችን በጀምም ቴሌቪዥን እና በድንቅ ፍጻሜ ዩቲዩብ የምትከታተሉ ቤተሰቦቻችን ጸጋና ሰላም ከሁላችን ጋር ይሁን። ዛሬ የምንገኘው በእስራኤል ኤምባሲ ውስጥ ነው። እንግዲህ በእስራኤል አሁን ያለውን ወቅታዊ ጉዳይ ለአድማጭ ተመልካቾቻችን ለማድረስ ምንጩ ላይ እንገኛለን ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ ዛሬ ከልዩ እንግዳ ጋራ መጥቻለሁኝ። ዛሬ ልዩ እንግዳችን በኢትዮጵያ የእስራኤል ምክትል አምባሳደር የሆኑት ሚስተር ቶሜር ናቸው። እንግዲህ ከሳቸው ጋራ የሚኖረን ቆይታ እንድትከታተሉ በአክብሮት እንጋብዛቸዋለን። First of all, thank you for receiving us in your office and just willing to do this interview.
Thank you, Yared, for having me, for interviewing me.
Yeah. So let me enter to the questions. Please, can you introduce yourself for our viewers?
Yes. So again, thank you for having me on your show. My name is Tomer Bar-Lavi. I'm the Deputy Ambassador of Israel here in Ethiopia, and I've been here just for a little bit over 4 months in Addis. So I'm still quite new, but I must say that in my short time in Addis, I've met many amazing people, and really the incredibly warm people in Ethiopia. They're very welcoming, so I've had a great experience so far.
Yeah, even if you have spent only 4 months here, I hope you know a lot about Ethiopia. So how to explain the relationship between Ethiopia and Israel? So Ethiopia and Israel have a very strong and ancient bond. You know, for us, our history and our tradition comes from the Bible. And in the Bible and in our history, we see time after time Ethiopia or this area being mentioned in different contexts. The most famous one is the connection between King Solomon of Israel and the Queen of Sheba, and that, you know, forms a sort of a special story that stands maybe at the base of the strong connection between our two nations. But there are many others also that exist, and I think the strong connection between our nations and our people, they've been strengthened also in modern times, since, you know, modern Israel was recreated in 1948, reestablished, and since then our two nations and our two countries have had periods of very strong cooperation. So we have a strong bond. Yeah, there is spiritual, historical, cultural ties between Ethiopia and Israel, and a long time before, as you said, especially written in the Bible many times, many places. So we are very lucky having these peoples together now, just you and me. So the next question: how do you express 1948, the different occasion for Israel's?
So 1948 was when we were able to regain our independence and sovereignty on our land, the people of Israel in the land of Israel. It's when the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel, was born. And now, you know, as I mentioned, our heritage goes back thousands of years, and even in the Bible it says that the people of Israel will be in their land, and then they will be exiled, and then they will come back to their land, and this will happen a couple of times. So the first exile that we had happened in the year 586 BCE, 2,500 years ago, more than that even. And we were exiled to Babylon, and after 50 years many of us came back to our land and began living there again. Then the longest exile happened a few hundred years later, after the year 70 CE, 70 of the Common Era, when the Romans destroyed our temple. You see behind me we can see the Temple Mount. So up on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, we had the Holy Temple standing, the temple to the God of Israel. And the Romans destroyed it for the second time in the year 70. And after that became our longest exile. We were exiled for almost 2,000 years. Some communities stayed in the land, but in 1948 we were able to reestablish our official sovereignty on our land. Our people came back from exile from all over the world, where we had lived as minorities, often as oppressed minorities amongst different other peoples, but we kept true to our identity and our heritage. And since then, 75 years, we've been developing our country, and we've developed into a modern, successful, prosperous state. So that's a short story of Israel with the modern part starting in 1948.
Oh, that's great. Answers. Many call it a miracle. And also in Ezekiel 37, chapter 37, it is expressed as coming out from the tomb, from the dead. Do you agree it is a miracle?
You know, our first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, he wasn't the biggest believer, I would say, but he said something very important. He said, in order to be a realist in modern Israel, you need to believe in miracles. And so I think that, you know, if I do it from my personal opinion, it seems like it was kind of a miracle. Because, as you said in Ezekiel, you know, it also says the vision of the dry bones. The valley, exactly, and so these bones there's a lot of bones of humans. He's walking through this valley, and suddenly they rise up and they gain human life, and they come to life. So this, I think, looking back at the year 1948, and if we look at the 10 years that happened before 1948 with all of the horrible genocide that our people faced, and then the 2,000 years before that of exile, expulsions, oppression in different countries. Suddenly these bones came to life, and we regained our spirit and our independence in our homeland. So there must be some miraculous aspect to it. I would have to agree with you. But it also took a lot of hard work from many people.
Well, let's come to the present condition of Israel. What about October 7? What happened? Does it mean, or can we call it, is it unprecedented? Unprecedented, because it is a surprise attack. Many called it a surprise attack. What I want to ask is that October 7 is a surprise, or the preparation, even the preparation, because it's a massive attack. A massive attack by air, by land, by sea, in every direction. So what about this war? Can we say Israel doesn't have any information about, doesn't have any evidence about this war?
Look, we didn't have too many illusions about Hamas, the terrorist organization that's been ruling over Gaza, the Gaza Strip, for the last 16 years. We knew that they were a murderous terrorist organization, that their plans, their goal in the end was to destroy Israel. But at the same time, we thought that there had been some kind of a cold understanding, because we had strong security, and at the same time we were working to help and improve the lives of the innocent people in Gaza. Unfortunately, Hamas neglects those innocent people, but Israel was allowing about 20,000 to come in every day into Israel to work. We were working on some larger projects with international partners in Gaza and around Gaza to improve their situation. Israel was actually, because Hamas doesn't invest in infrastructure, Israel was providing about 50% of the electricity in Gaza from Israel's electric company. We were providing also about 10% of the water that Gazans were drinking, because we saw there was humanitarian need and we wanted to help them. Unfortunately, on let me just a disclaimer, on October 6th, until October 6th, there was a ceasefire. Hamas and Israel, we'd had certain rounds of fighting, but we had a ceasefire that lasted for a couple of years until October 6th. October 7th, after midnight, Hamas, actually at 6 a.m. on October 7th, Hamas opened with this completely surprise, unprecedented attack, which it had been planning for a long time, but we hadn't known about it. And it broke the ceasefire. It brought in about 3,000 people into Israel, terrorists whose purpose was only to rape Israeli women, to murder, to massacre young people, to kill children in front of their parents and parents in front of their children, to burn homes on the people who were in the homes. There was also a music festival going on with thousands of young people between the ages of 18 and 25 approximately, maybe 28, some people. Hamas came to this music festival and began massacring people, raping women, young women, mutilating bodies. And in the end, at this music festival, over 260 people were murdered, and about 40 were taken hostage back into Gaza. As a whole, during this day of October 7th, we suffered about 1,200 murdered people. It includes men, women, children, babies. Babies were burned alive, elderly people. We suffered thousands of wounded. We also suffered over 240 people who were taken hostage into Gaza by these terrorists. They were brought, these were again, babies, children, women, elderly people, Holocaust survivors, people who had survived the Holocaust, the biggest genocide in Jewish history, 80 years ago, were now being held in Gaza by these terrorists. So, for the people of Israel, this was a very traumatic day. It was a surprise. We didn't know that it would happen. We thought that we had come to somewhat of an understanding that Hamas was interested in keeping the quiet along the border, but they had been planning secretly this murderous attack. And this was the bloodiest attack for the people of Israel since the Holocaust. The single bloodiest day for the Jewish people since then. So it was really an unprecedented attack, and it can't happen again. That's our biggest message to the world and to our neighbors, is that something like this will never happen again, and we must protect our people.
That's great. But Hamas called this war al-Aqsa tiding. Yeah, I think so. Al-Aqsa tiding. Does it mean Hamas intended to give a religious cover for this war?
So it's interesting, we see throughout the decades that we've had conflict with Hamas and with other radical Palestinian factions, that every time that they want to really inspire people to rise up against Israel, they tie it to al-Aqsa. Now, al-Aqsa, you can also look behind me right now. We see the old city of Jerusalem here, and where the Temple Mount is, this is actually the al-Aqsa compound. So we have the Dome of the Rock in the middle, where the Holy Temple once stood, and on the far right side, behind the flag over there, we have the Mosque of al-Aqsa. So the constant myth, myth amongst the Palestinian radicals, the terrorists, is that Israel is somehow trying to destroy al-Aqsa, that we're somehow trying to either destroy the mosque or make it into a Jewish site or something like that. And that's how they're able to promote this myth and be able to get the people animated and angry at Israel. But as Israel, I must say, look, you see the picture behind me. Israel keeps the freedom of religion for all faiths living within our country. Even within Israel, we're about 20% Muslims. We have almost 2 million Muslims living as citizens of Israel. Their holy sites, their mosques are protected. They have the same rights as other communities in Israel. And we even have Muslim soldiers fighting in our army. This is not, in our view, not at all a religious battle. We've been protecting the Al-Aqsa Mosque. There's a status quo there. There's been no damaging of any Islamic holy sites within Israel. And for us, this isn't a battle of religion. It's a battle of survival for our country and our people, and to keep our citizens safe. And our citizens, again, they include Jews, and they also include others, people of other backgrounds and other faiths. So that claim is completely unfounded, and it's just a way for Hamas to try and rile up support within the Palestinians and also within the Muslim world. And we really hope that most of the Muslim world is not falling for this fake news that they're trying to spread.
What is the intention of Hamas to gain from this war?
So Hamas's intentions are, they've been out, they've been clearly stated for decades. Hamas was founded as an organization in 1987. And for the last 36 years, they have stated clearly that their final goal is the elimination of Israel, the destruction of Israel, to get all of the Jews off of the land, and to establish an Islamic state on the land, which will then in the future spread as an Islamic caliphate to other lands. So we can compare this ideology in a way to the ideology of ISIS, of the Islamic State, and of other Islamist terror organizations around the world. That's their final goal. Their goal from this particular battle, it seems like they were trying to start a huge war, maybe with help from outside. For now, thankfully, we have contained the battle, although we have attacks going on from Hezbollah in the north in Lebanon, and from the Houthi militia in Yemen. They're attacking, also trying to attack Israel and the shipping, international shipping routes in the Red Sea. So we are working hard to prevent Hamas from achieving their goals, which are the destruction of our country and the murder of our people. It seems like in the current conflict, they also, of course, they took our hostages, they took our people hostage, and they're also trying maybe to get all of the terrorists in our prisons released, and that's something that Palestinian terrorism has been around for decades. There are people who have murdered innocent men, women, and children in our prisons. They're now in our prisons because they were convicted of murder. They have blood on their hands. And in exchange, you have, these young children, babies, and then mothers being held by Hamas. So we're working to prevent Hamas from reaching its goals, and also to get our people back.
So that's the only intention. Israel is dragged to this war.
Yes. We unfortunately, Israel invests in peace and in prosperity. We've been building our state for 75 years. We came from nothing. Our people were all refugees, whether it's from the Holocaust in Europe or from Arab countries where they were expelled for the most part by the different rulers there. And we came back to our homeland in Israel with nothing. And we built it up into a flourishing country, into a modern state with a thriving economy and a high standard of living. And we prefer to invest in positive things and not in war. Unfortunately, from the very first day that we established our state, we've been faced with murderous enemies from all around. Sometimes it's state actors, sometimes it's terrorists. And their goal has been to destroy us. So we've been forced to invest in defense. And in this specific war, we had no desire whatsoever of beginning this war, of going into Gaza. We thought that we had reached some kind of a status quo and a way that we can help the innocent people of Gaza. And unfortunately, we were dragged into this war by Hamas. And Hamas is paying the price right now for their actions.
How much time it will take to end this war? Is there an expectation?
So our soldiers are working methodically within Gaza in order to clear the area of terrorists. Now, it's important to note that underneath the main, the ground level of Gaza, there's 500 kilometers of tunnels that were built there by Hamas. Hamas used billions of dollars of international aid that they received over the last 16 years instead of spending it on bettering the lives of their people and making Gaza into they said it, we used to think it might be the Singapore of the Middle East. It has a nice coastline. It can be open for trade. It can be a high-tech capital because they originally had quite educated population. Instead of investing in infrastructure for their people, they invested it in terrorist infrastructure to advance their goals of destroying Israel. And so in order to eliminate 16 years of this investment in terrorist infrastructure, which is what we need to do, because we need to prevent attacks from happening again from Gaza, it takes time. And that's why we've been working neighborhood by neighborhood and tunnel by tunnel in order to destroy these terrorist sites, in order to destroy as many terrorists and arrest as many terrorists as possible, and to get to their leadership as well. Because their leadership has said that October 7th and what happened, the massacre that they conducted, it's only the beginning. They've said this in interviews all over the world. They said that this is something that is the beginning of the final battle, and they want to do more and more October 7th. They want to do more and more massacres of Israelis. So we can't allow them to get back to that state where they can conduct these horrific attacks. And that's why it will take as long as it needs to take. It will take as long as it takes to also bring all of our people back, and also to destroy Hamas in Gaza and have a better future for Gaza under a different leadership.
That's nice. After reading Ezekiel 37, the gathering of Israel, Ezekiel 38 and 39, two chapters mentioned about Gog and Magog war. Do you think Israel will face this war in the near future?
Well, we really hope not. We don't think that. Again, we don't consider this a religious war. Of course, many things in Israel, you can connect it one way or another to prophecies that happen. The ingathering of the exiles and the different things that we were talking about with the miracles. But in our view, we're currently fighting a war to defend our citizens against Hamas, against the threat from Gaza. We also need to defend them from threats in other areas. For example, on the northern border with Lebanon, where we have the Hezbollah terrorist organization, which has threatened to also to invade and actually conquer the Galilee region of Israel. And we have, of course, the actor that's behind all of these terrorist groups, which is the Iranian regime in Iran. It's a terror-supporting regime which says as its main goal that it plans to destroy Israel. So we take these threats very seriously, but we hope that this is not going to expand into a much larger conflict at the moment.
Good. What about the third temple? There are many news running through this social media, which says Israel is already start building this third temple. What about that?
Well, it's important to note that the state of Israel is committed to the status quo on the Temple Mount, as we see above us again. We have an agreement that ever since we liberated our capital city of Jerusalem in 1967, we've had an agreement with the Islamic Waqf, the authorities that are in control over the holy sites on the Temple Mount, and that agreement says that it is an Islamic holy site, that they have the right to pray there. Of course, we have sovereignty over the whole city, but we have no plans right now of any kind of these big moves that of rebuilding the temple. That's some kind of a dream that it's something it's like a religious dream, but it's not a practical thing that we are doing or that we are promoting. We are committed completely to the status quo with the Muslim community, and that's the state of Israel. It's a democratic country. It's a Jewish state, and it's also a democratic state, and it's very important for us to to keep both sides of that equation, of that definition alive. So to your answer, no. To your question, there are no plans of reestablishing the temple. We've come back to our land. We're praying in our holy sites, and that's what we're sticking with right now.
I think the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu mentioned many times about the temple. No, even if in the long run, you don't think to build this temple?
Look, it's the kind of the dream of a third temple, of rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. It's like something that when the Messiah comes or something, then maybe we will have the third temple. But until the Messiah comes, we're still waiting. And I think the state of Israel itself has been described by some religious leaders as a sort of a third temple for the Jewish people, because in these days we're not looking for any kind of a global conflict or anything. We are trying to live in peace with our neighbors. We're trying to we had over the last few years the Abraham Accords, where we normalized relations with a number of Arab states. We've been getting closer and closer to normalization, even with Saudi Arabia, which we really hope will get back on track after this conflict against the extremists is over. So we have no desires to begin a conflict with the Muslim world. Our goal is only to protect our people and our citizens, and to live in peace with our neighbors.
Oh, that's nice. Do you know about Yehuda ben David? Is a new rabbi raised in Israel, the very famous person, and there are many rumors around him. Do you have an idea about Yehuda ben David?
Yehuda ben David? I'm not familiar. If you send me some information about him, I would love to read about him. But I personally have not heard of him.
Okay, that's good. And then again, let me come back to the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He mentioned many times about the Christian Zionists. Mm-hmm. They are a supporter to realize the dream of Zion. So how do you see this?
Yeah, I must say that from the very beginning of modern Zionism and the State of Israel, Christian Zionists have been some of the best friends that Israel has had anywhere in the world. Really, the amount of support that we receive from our Christian friends is really incredible. It's heartwarming. It's the people of Israel know that the Christian world, many in the Christian world, are behind us. We are, of course, very appreciative of this, and I think it's an important source of the support for modern Israel is amongst Christian Zionists, evangelicals, and people who really are connected to the idea of Israel due to the connection with the Bible and their faith, and also with the history, because in the end they recognize that modern Israel is a sort of country and state of the people of Israel, which have returned to our homeland and our ancestral lands for thousands of years.
Oh, that's great. We Ethiopians, the whole religion, the evangelicals, the Orthodox, the Catholic, all Christian sects are in love with Israel, and everyone wants to visit Jerusalem. So many are hearing us, and you can transmit any message about the present condition for our viewers.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. To our Christian friends in Ethiopia, we first of all would like to say that Israel and Ethiopia and the Christians of Ethiopia and all Ethiopians, but I'm focusing on the Christians right now, we share a common history, we share many commonalities and strong bonds in our cultures and in our different stories that we tell to ourselves and to each other. And we feel this. You know, I've been here, again, I'll mention just for a few months in Ethiopia, but I feel when I meet Ethiopians and Ethiopian Christians, I feel that there's a special bond between us. And you know, during this difficult time for Israel and for the people of Israel, we really appreciate the strong support that we're getting from our friends in Ethiopia. We appreciate the prayers that you are praying for our country and our people and for the peace of Jerusalem. And we hope to continue expanding our relationship and our connection, not only in the difficult times, but also in the good times that will be to come. And again, you know, any support that we get right now, it's very important for us, for our people. And we hope to continue seeing this support and to continue building this connection between us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tomer. Really, we pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Again, thank you for accepting us in your office.
Thank you very much.
I hope we'll meet again.
Thank you, Yared. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. ክቡራትና ክቡራን ተመልካቾቻችን በአሜሪካ፣ በአውሮፓ፣ መካከለኛው ምስራቅ፣ በሩቅ ምስራቅ፣ በአፍሪካ ሀገሮችና በልዩ ልዩ ስፍራ በመላው ኢትዮጵያ ሆናችሁ በጀመም ቴሌቪዥን እና በድንቅ ፍጻሜ ቲዩብ የምትከታተሉ ወገኖች ከሚስተር ቶሜር የእስራኤል ኤምባሲ በኢትዮጵያ ምክትል አምባሳደር ጋራ በነበረን ወቅታዊ ሁኔታን የተመለከተ ውይይት ጠቃሚ መረጃ እንዳገኛችሁ ተስፋ እናደርጋለን። የእግዚአብሔር ቃል እንደሚለው ለኢየሩሳሌም ሰላም ጸልዩ አንተን ለሚወዱ ሁሉ ሰላም ይሁን ስለሚል ሁላችንም አሁን እስራኤል ከገባችበት ከዚህ አጣብቂኝ እንድትወጣና ሰላሟ እንዲረጋገጥ እግዚአብሔርም ደግሞ ከእስራኤል ተነስቶ ወደ ምድር ሁሉ የሚደርሰውን ጽድቅ እንዲያበዛ እንዲፈጽምም እንጸልይ ብዬ እላችኋለሁ። ጸጋና ሰላም ከሁላችን ጋር ይሁን። ተባረኩ።
የጌታችን መምጫ ቀኑ ቀርቧልና አብልጠን ለፍቅርና ለመልካም ሥራ እንንቃ። የዕብራውያን መልእክት ምዕራፍ 10 ቁጥር 24። መሳያ ፎር ኢንተርናሽናል ሚኒስትሪ የጌታችን የኢየሱስ ክርስቶስን ዳግም ምጽአት ከፍ አድርጎ ለማወጅ የተመሰረተ የመጀመሪያው ሚኒስትሪ አሁን ያለውንና በቶሎ ሊሆን ያለውን የዘመን ፍጻሜ ክስተቶች ትንታኔ በድንቅ ፍጻሜ የቴሌቪዥን ፕሮግራም ዘወትር ቅዳሜ ከ11 ሰዓት ጀምሮ በጂኤምኤም ቴሌቪዥን ይዞላችሁ ይቀርባል። ይህን የቴሌቪዥን የትምህርት ፕሮግራም ለጌታ ክብር ለቅዱሳን መነቃቃትን ያመጣ ዘንድ ፕሮግራሙን ስፖንሰር ያድርጉ። በተጨማሪም የሚኒስትሪው ተባባሪ አባል በመሆን የጌታን መምጣት ለማስቸኮል አብረውን ይሰሩ ዘንድ ጋብዘኖታል። የምሥራች! ኢየሱስ በቶሎ ይመጣል።